game being moved.
Okay.
And
Hello,
it being
everybody.
restricted. Whoops. All right, go
Hi,
ahead.
everybody. This is Jim West and Del Ross. Welcome aboard to Talking Preps OT. Week 11, Del. I
Yep.
cannot believe we've already gone through the season as fast as we have.
Most
Dill, I know you had
importantly,
something on your mind. So,
hopefully, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear
I
me
think
now?
most importantly, the last regular season games are this week. So we're about to go into playoffs.
Thursday nights and Friday nights in my area. How about yours?
Same here. Uh, in fact, there's a Thursday night game that was originally scheduled to be played at Memorial Stadium, and that is South Mecklenburg hosting Huff. And of course, South Meck is without their stadium this season for renovations. I thought they had actually gotten them, their stadium back, but it's just Butler that is now back in their stadium. So when South Meck doesn't play at a Memorial Stadium, they play at Waddell. It's where they play their home games. And turns out this game has been moved, and now it's going to be played at Waddell. So that's that's a little bit of maybe a downer for some people, but the bigger downer is that now we got another limited game. We had all these games last week, and there's probably going to be some other high-profile games, which I don't know if the other high-profile games are ticket limited. As far as I know, they're not, Jim. But this particular game is. So I attended a high-profile game last Friday night that probably the biggest game in Charlotte so far this season. Most important, let's say, the highest profile game that we've had in Charlotte, and including this week, it will have been the highest profile game. And it did not get ticket limited. But here we are with this particular game, and this game is going to be limited. So, Jim, to me, that's just taking me right back to that why. What's the extraordinary circumstance that requires this game to be limited?
Well, interesting thing I see is for only 3,000 tickets will be sold for this event. I knew some of them were like 1,000. I also heard 1,400 at others.
I think of course, I don't know. I mean, I thought the guidelines say, I thought there was a home and away number, but regardless, they're limiting this one to 3,000. Now, this is an easily 4,500 capacity stadium. It is a nice stadium, just the playing field, it's not up kept because it's not a high school anymore. It's a language academy, but the field's still there. Very nice stadium, very nice. Lots of good things about it, but it's not a well kept field, so it's not a great place to play from that regard. But it can handle easily 4,500 people. So limiting it, I don't know what they say there's high profile games with extraordinary circumstances. And so what are the extraordinary circumstances here? that's causing them to say they need to limit the game. Now, I can only think of primarily one thing, and maybe two. And one thing would be its location, and that's at Waddell. So, is it the geography of where the game is being held and any concerns, safety concerns around geography? This leans into, and I had this conversation Friday night, Jim, with people at the Myers Park Tough game. I talked to about 4 or 5 people about this limiting thing and what were their views and what did they think it was, and everyone leaned in on they felt like it was racially based in some manner, and that would fall into a Waddell situation as well. Are they making assumptions? Though there's may be some statistics on crime that warrants or
Yeah.
there could be issues, but I don't know, Jim.
It's perception. It's the word perception comes to mind. And when you're not, if you don't have a very transparent guideline, is perceived in different ways. It may not be racist. We don't know for sure. But that's one perception I think is a very prevalent perception that's based on race. And, again, I'm not saying I'm not going to pull out the race card on this, but that is a perception right now. It's a very legitimate perception that this is based on race. And I mean, again, it goes back to transparency. Is there something special about the Myers Park people and the Huff people where their games are not limited, but another game like maybe Indy and Butler, their sales are limited? I mean, is it social status? Is it political pull? I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Indy Butler game gets limited. But there was a post that was made by DJ McFadden last week on Twitter, and DJ asked, would the Myers Park Huff game be limited? Is it a high-profile game? Something along those lines. And my response, I responded to it basically as a trolling post, not of DJ. I was hoping DJ would maybe respond, but I was really hoping someone else would respond. And my question was, or my statement was, define high profile in CMS terms. And I was hoping someone would state that they felt like it was racist. It was, racism, because I already had my response planned out. My response was going to be, well, I can't say that it is, nor can I say that it isn't, because we don't know. Perception, as you say,
Right.
Transparency, as you say. And Jim, I will tell you, based on what I said last week, last Friday night on the show, and I think you and a lot of other people already know, I did send in a records request to get all. So I don't know who's making this decision. That's the problem. I don't know anybody. I don't know any names of people that are in this decision-making process. And so I got a response back, because one of the things that I asked for in my records request was emails and text messages that pertain to this issue. Now, I stated the issue, stated the policy, high-profile games, extraordinary circumstances. And I got a response back yesterday that said, don't consider this a denial. We would like to have what range, time frame you want. Okay, I understand that. And people's names and email addresses. So my response was, I don't know who the people are. Who made this? Who's making these decisions? I if you tell me, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering here. I didn't stutter in my in my response back. If you tell me who the people are, then I can, I can provide that information. But we don't know. There's no transparency. And I use the word transparency. There's no transparency here. So I have no idea who's making these calls. Who sits on the committee? They have to have an internal committee for this, right? Go ahead.
You don't know.
You would at your company, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Would we ever? Not only that, there would be an email to everybody, every stakeholder about it.
Exactly.
But the thing is, my company cares about their people. When you lack transparency, a lot of times it's shown as arrogance. Sometimes it's shown as dishonesty. Sometimes it's shown as laziness. And again, there's all kinds of perceptions on that. I'm not saying they're dishonest, not saying they're lazy, but I'm just saying that it shows that they didn't really think it out very well, to be honest with you.
Jim, I've worked for a number of companies, and every one of the companies that I worked for, if there was not just planning a Halloween party, but if there were things that were going to be potentially policy driven, one of the first things that was done was a committee was put together of various people within the company. They may not be the ones making the decision. It just depended on what this purpose of this committee was. But there was at least a committee that would form guidelines for those who are going to make the policies to follow. So things that we are concerned about. And we're kind of like representing other people we know within the company or external customers, if it be. Even charitable things that we did. Companies meet, they put together teams to determine what they're going to do, and then they develop their policies. And that is CMS, being one of the largest school systems in the nation, doesn't do this.
Right.
We got a real big problem.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Unless a single person is making the decision. And then tell me who that person is. But did somebody say, one individual say, I think we need to control security at games, and everybody else said, that's your job. That's you. If you want to do it, you do it. We're not involved. We're not going to talk about it. Nah. So what's happening? What's happening Thursday night, Jim? That's a concern to me. I'm a dog. I'm like a dog with a ribeye bone, or actually a rib bone, a big, nice beef rib bone like you'd get at a Texas barbecue house if you've ever had one.
I prefer pork, but anyway.
You get a bone about yay long, big old rib bone. It's a big old cow, rib bone, and you got that meat on it. Give that to a dog. What do you think that dog would do if you tried to take it?
Yeah, you might be missing a couple of fingers. So
exactly. So, trying to get this out of the way. So anyway, that's I think that's a big issue here,
okay.
And this issue might rear its head in other school systems around the state. If other school systems see we're doing this, who knows? You might start seeing it in Guilford County and over in Wake and surrounding and Forsyth. You might start seeing it in all the big counties. They might start following suit.
Right. You're exactly right. I don't think it's isolated to Wake County. I don't. I really don't. I will say that there are certain counties that have really good leadership on their school boards and also in their with their county commissioners that they fund the schools a little bit more on the local supplements and stuff. I think that a lot of it has to go back to leadership, but at the same time, I think there's an undercurrent going on against public schools in general in North Carolina. We've seen it all over the place. I mean, when I was growing up, teachers didn't protest and go to Raleigh. Uh, they didn't get paid very well back then either, but we've gotten so far that a lot of these teachers are barely making ends meet, and to stay as a teacher, you have to have a second or even a third job, especially in the summers. So it has a lot to say about that. So, well, Dale, I'll tell you what.
Question.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. So you made a good point. This undercurrent against public education. So I'm going to ask you, do you think this could be a tool, not to be conspiracy driven, but do you think this could be a tool to help drive towards what I think people will want to do, is not just privatize education, but privatize athletics?
It's possible. What's the way I don't think human beings we're probably not nearly as smart as we like to give ourselves credit for sometimes. I think a lot of times people will see somebody react and then try to campaign against that reaction. Like right now, if the coaches or the teachers, they take a stand that seems a little bit too strong, the opposing side says, well, you see what this right here is going on. Teachers don't care about their students. They care, the only thing they care about is cash. And we all know that's a bunch of malarkey. But it goes back to people just using these little sound bites and stuff. But to answer your question, I don't think it's being done on purpose. However, I think there's going to be some people profiting from it down the line, and not the good type of profits. So,
yeah, it's a good. I understand what you're saying, but then sometimes people that want something to happen. All you have to do is start planting your seed and not be the voice, but plant the seed and let other people end up driving what you want to have happen. So I do worry a little bit that that's a potential, another side. It's a side effect, just like you say about the undercurrent about public education, that I think this potentially drives into that same concern that people are probably trying to throw up and say why public schools aren't safe, that kind of deal. So,
right, you're exactly right. And I don't know, trying to be funny, but right now, would you recommend any of these high school students to consider going into education where they're going to be a teacher in a North Carolina school? I couldn't tell any kid to do that. I probably could have maybe 15, 20 years ago. I definitely could have when I was growing up. I was a big advocate. I thought our teachers were very well taken care of, a lot better than they are now. My mother worked in the city schools of Albemarle, and she was treated fairly well, but a lot of times it depended on who the administrator of that specific school was. But now the teachers are being, what's the word for it? You got the top dogs, the administrators or the politicians, then the school administrators, then you got maybe the parents, then you might have the kids, and the very bottom, is probably your teachers. It used not to be that way. Teachers used to have a lot more clouds. They used to be a lot more respected in society, and now they're just used as a scapegoats. And it just depresses me that we've gotten that way with public education.
Yeah, I think we have to concern. I think a lot of people go into education because they are driven, just there is something kicks into them that says, I want to be an educator.
Right.
And so they take that path because it's something they're internally driven to do. But as they see more and more how education is treated, you can't help but think that it's impacting who we get as educators, both in numbers and quality. I'm sure it's impacting that.
I agree. Um, Dale, let's regroup a little bit here. I just want to ask you, what game are you going to go to on Thursday, and what game are you going to go on Friday? Or do you even know at this point?
The Friday game, I don't know. The Thursday game, I know the one that I would like to go to. That's the highest profile game in Charlotte this week, and that's for the conference championship. And that'll be Providence hosting Ardrey Kell. Now, not only is that a high-profile game, that should be a good game, a competitive game, one of those games that could be a one-score game. So, Jim, I think that's the one I'm going to. I see our games are up, and as you can look at the games that I have available to me.
So Ardrey Kell and Providence. Okay.
Yeah, the Independence Butler game, that's got a lot of nostalgia to it, but I don't know. That's a further away game too. That's more of a drive, and one of my factors I'm considering is being able to get back here in time so we can do our 11 o'clock show.
Now the Forest Hills Monroe game, I like that game.
Yeah, that's too far away for me, though. Unfortunately, gotcha. That would be a good game. That would be a very, very good game to attend.
Okay.
I did. I do know that Alan and Jeff both are going to the. That's not up here, Mountain Island.
Oh, it's the very last.
Yeah, Valley,
North Rowan.
North Rowan Mountain Island Charter game. That'll
be a good game. That'll be a really good game.
Friday night, I don't know yet. As I look at games, the game that I would like to go to is Sun Valley at Porter Ridge.
That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, that's I think could be a competitive game, but more than anything, that's one of the better environments of a high school football game.
Now,
that's a big rival game.
There's one game I see on the right-hand side in the South Piedmont 4A, 5A, that Northwest Cabarrus and J.M. Robinson. That could be a really fun game to go to. Northwest Cabarrus lost last week. They lost to West Rowan, but that's a dangerous team. And J.M. Robinson, I think, is one of the best 5A teams in the state. That would be a fun game to go to.
It's possible, believe it or not, that I could probably get back from that game quicker. Not believe it or not, you may believe it, quicker than I could getting back from Sun Valley at Porter Ridge, because I can get out and on Interstate 85 fairly quickly from J.M. Robinson. That could be a good game. I don't see any other games. Mooresville and Lake Norman would be a great game from a environment point of view. A rivalry, yeah. But I really think that's a Mooresville win. And you talk about a hard game to get out of and a long ways from me. And I don't see, Charlotte Christian, Charlotte Latin could be a good game.
Yeah, it could be a good one. What I'm looking for are competitive games on this. That Davie County, South Iredell, I think Davie County would be favored in that game. That would be a decent one. That Troutman's a pretty good atmosphere to go to. I know that Davie County, that's an old NPC rivalry from back in the West Carolina High School Athletic Association days.
It's even further than Lake
Concord.
Norman. Yeah. No, Lake Norman. So
Lake Norman.
if I were going to go up into that area, I would probably rather go to the Mooresville Lake Norman game, both because it's closer and the atmosphere would probably be better, but mainly because it's closer, but it's still too tough. Concord, East Rowan? No, I'll pass.
I don't think that I think that game 20, 30 years ago would be a fairly high-profile game. Concord has really struggled over the last decade when – gosh, help me out. Who was the guy that was their longtime coach there? Not Easy Smith, but the guy who replaced Easy. I can think of. He coached
Paget.
at Northwest Cabarrus, and he went to South Carolina. Glenn Paget. That's it.
Glenn Paget. Yeah, I said Paget, but Glenn Paget. Yeah.
Now, here's a game that if you want to go to a nice one, Dale, just drive down to Albemarle, see South Stanley and Albemarle. That could be
you're
I think South
picking
Stanley won
games.
that one.
That's
That'd
just like
one
going to. I thought you were going to say now Burns at Shelby. I could eat some good barbecue.
You could eat some good barbecue over at Albemarle. Go to Whispering Pines.
Well, I do like Whispering Pines. That's good barbecue.
Good. Yeah.
I don't see any games here. Really.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm looking at that Burns Shelby game would be a pretty good one. I think Shelby's 3A, Burns is. Can't remember. Burns is 4A. I believe Burns is 4A.
Plus, it's a big rival game.
Yeah, it's a Cleveland County game. That would be a pretty good one.
Lincoln, didn't it? West Lincoln could.
Tell you one that was really weird was that South Point versus Ambassador Christian. Just for whatever reason, I thought that was a big, interesting game.
South Point.
And that's without the E. That's
yeah. That's the Red Raiders. That's the Red Raiders Belmont team. They're playing at Johnson C. Smith. That's interesting. I don't know anything about Ambassador Christian, so I'm assuming they are located over in that area. I know nothing about them at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I couldn't tell you that. I don't expect it. I can tell you I don't expect it to be a good game from a competitive point of view, but I could be wrong. But South Point,
I believe it was started by Joe Gibbs who started that Ambassador Christian.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll share with you, Dale. There's 390 schools in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association that plays football. And I've seen 144 of those teams play. I went back and counted them. Had to go back through my logs to see my notes from back in the day. I'm going to go and see two more teams this week that I've never seen before. I'm going to go see West Carterets. They're heading over to from West Carterets over in Morehead City. They're traveling to Pittsburgh to play Northwood. I'm looking forward to seeing that game. I know West Carteret's a 5A team. Northwood's one of those bubble teams that might make it into the 3A playoffs. Should be a decent one. And then I'm going to Henderson over in Vance County to watch Vance County host Franklinton. I've never seen the Red Rams play before. So I think they're called the Red Rams. But
used to be some good barbecue in Henderson. I don't know if
I'm sure there is.
So that's you and I had talked about that, and I don't know. I haven't done a list of how many teams I've seen. I think I've seen a vast majority of the Western teams. The Eastern, no. I've seen a number of Eastern teams, but not just in playoffs.
The thing is,
I thought we might get the Raleigh games up since we had this.
Yeah, let's look at the Raleigh games.
If we got them.
Yeah, if we got them. If not, it's okay. All right. Looks like we're probably going to have to wait for them at another time. But the teams in Raleigh that I would like to see, I think in the next few weeks, especially in the playoffs, like at 8A, Millbrook and Jordan High School. So I think they're the two teams to win in 8A. I'm not exactly sure where they're playing this week, but they're going to have some really special games going on there. I could see them kind of going out there. Dale, the East this year, some classifications are a lot deeper than others. 7A, they're fairly deep on 7A. You got Cardinal Gibbons, you got Cleveland, you got Southeast Raleigh, you got Gardner, you got Clayton. you got several really good teams there. 6A, same thing. You got Northern Nash. You got 71st. You got Terry Sanford and so forth. But then you get to some classifications like 5A. 5A is just dominated in the Western teams this year. I mean, Hickory, South Point, Crest, J.M. Robinson, East Lincoln. Just want to talk a little bit about the balances over the years. Would you say that it's pretty safe to say over the last 10 years the balance has definitely gone to the West, although the East have shown some pretty good teams like Cardinal Gibbons and Wake Forest for those 3 years?
The balance. So, there's two ways to look at this. One way is just who wins on the final, game of the season.
Right.
The state champions, which doesn't require a lot of strength on either side, just that one team makes it all the way through, like a Tarboro as an example, right?
Right.
You can almost pencil them in every year.
8 years in a row.
Exactly. So over here in the West, there's more than one team. As you start rolling into the playoffs, you can say, wow, I see at least two teams that have excellent shots at playing the final. And there's maybe two or three more that could upset and find themselves playing. So
it's the depth.
That's the depth. So I think from a depth perspective, for the most part, for a long time, I think there's been a lot of depth in all classifications in the West.
Right.
Now, there's been, when I say a lot, sometimes it's just a little bit, but the West has seemed to have had a little more depth across the board. The East has produced some very, very good teams. So Wake Forest comes out and wins state championships. People think out of nowhere, which basically it was. The question was, would anybody in that area ever win one? And then all of a sudden, here they are.
One of my favorite tweets ever. It was from you, Dell. This is back in 2016. Wake Forest wins their first state championship, and you kept on acting like you're a Western team. Western fans, like they haven't played anybody. Their strength of schedule is 68 out of 100. They haven't had to beat anybody. They haven't been challenged. And at the very end, you're just like, wait, they won the championship? and it's just seeing people react to that. That was hilarious. But
it doesn't matter. If you win all your games, you win all your games, right?
Right.
So.
I mean, good competition will make you better, but sometimes you're so good, it doesn't matter who you play. You'll win. Like Tarboro is a team right now. They're a two-way team. They can compete easily in the 4As. They can compete in the 5As with fairly good success. I think if they're in the 5As, they would be a top 10 team right now. Let's go look at some of the games here in the eastern part of the state. We'll stay right here on this list here. The Carolina Pines, 6A, Harnett Central, and Triton. Triton, that's over in Dunn. If you're familiar, Dunn and Irwin kind of consolidated, I think, and actually a little high school called Coates. They consolidated in after the 84 season to become Triton. The only reason I know that is
family lived in Dunn. Yeah, I know Dunn real well.
my father is from Irwin originally. He was born in Irwin. And that's Harnett Central Triton, that's a good rivalry. Lee County, Southern Lee, that's going to be a very good game. That's going to be a very close game. Will either one of these teams, will they make a lot of noise in the playoffs? I don't see it. There's always a possibility on that. West Johnson, South Johnson, that's going to be a rivalry game. West Johnson, that's over in Benson. South Johnson, I think, is over in Four Oaks or somewhere like that, over in Johnson County. I can't remember what the towns are. Western Harnett, that's over in Anger, playing Union Pines over in Cameron. That's a little bit of a haul there. Going to the Big Seven, Orange and Cedar Ridge, this is my backyard. Both of those teams have been struggling quite a bit. Orange should win fairly easily, though. Cedar Ridge they just don't have the depth or the experience or to have much of a game. But I'm always impressed with the team that comes out each and every week to play. Carborough at Seaforth, that could be a decent game. I think Seaforth will win, though. Going over to this, whenever I think about there's Eastern, I live in the East, obviously. I live in the eastern half of the state, but I'm not East. East is anything east of I-95. You get to the Three Rivers, Washington, and North Pitt. That's true Eastern North Carolina football. North Pitt, that's a really good team. That West Craven, Eastern Wayne, Dale, I'll tell you what, that would be a fun game to watch. That'd be a lot of fun to watch. I think West Craven's got one of the best defenses in the 4A East. Should be fun. I'm looking down a little bit here. Wallace Rosehill and James Cannon. Dale, there's been some good games over the years on that one. I'm sure you remember those, hearing some stories about that rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to give a shout out to Charlie Ferrier, who was the longtime mayor over at Wallace, used to be a client of mine 30-some years ago. The Big East, the independent schools, I couldn't tell you much about them. Ravenscroft, I've seen them play probably a dozen years ago against South Granville. Let's see, the more of the independence teams, can't really help you out on any of those. Here we go. I want to look at some of these Thursday games. Let's see here. Jordan at Willow Spring. Willow Spring is a pretty decent team. They're an 8A team. I saw them play earlier on, or actually a couple weeks ago. They have a pretty good passing game. I'd like to see how Jordan's defense does against Willow Spring. Jordan, I have a pretty strong feeling will win with ease, but I'm just kind of curious about how good their defense will do. If Jordan shuts out Willow Springs or hold them less than 2 touchdowns, that would be a pretty good showing for them.
I think the biggest game is Cleveland at Clayton.
That'd be a dandy. I saw that game 2 years ago, and a guy jumped out of an airplane and handed the game ball.
Mm-hmm.
I saw South Gardner play last week, and they have a lot of talent. That's a very well organized team. They don't have the depth, I believe, to compete against Southeast Raleigh, but that's an up-and-coming school. I will be at the Franklinton Advanced County game in the Northern 6A, 7A. Let's see here.
Hopefully it's not too cold.
Well, the good news is it's not going to be raining. And I can dress up for the cold, but I'll tell you what, Dale, for whatever reason, when it's cold and it's wet outside, I don't enjoy those games. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I love rainy football. Not me. I am a fair-weathered fan. I'm a dry-weather fan. Let's put it that way.
I'm not a fan of rainy games, but rain and cold especially. That's not a good combination for me.
Interesting thing about it, Dale, if it's snowing outside, it doesn't bother me nearly as bad as it does if it's just raining. For whatever reason, it just doesn't bother me. I guess it's because it's not – you don't get the soaked-in moisture doesn't come into your –
I was just kind of thinking also, though, the air may be with rain, still moisture coming down, but with rain, I think it's more like a humidity as well that can.
The air's maybe a little bit drier when it's snowing.
Exactly. So it can be cold. It can be colder in rain.
I get headaches when it snows, but
sinus up in your sinuses. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm with you, though I haven't seen many snow games in North Carolina.
Last game I've seen in the snow was, I think it was East Duplin the East Duplin versus High Brighton in the 2A or 2AA state championship back in 2016. And that was a cold game. The night before, I saw Wallace Rose Hill and the old West Montgomery team play, and that was really cold. It was windy. And the next day, it was snowing. And then I got to go to Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is like 15 degrees warmer than it was in Chapel Hill, to watch the game Eastern Guilford against Weddington for the state championship. That was some good hitting in that game. Gosh, you like good barbecue. I do too. We both love good hitting, and there was some good hitting in that game. So,
I like to see games that are good, solid hitting, meaning techniques, etc. Like that Richmond Independence 2003 regional final at Memorial Stadium. What a game that was. Those kind of games are a lot of fun to watch, where the kids are almost like college players with their hitting and their just their overall play.
I totally agree with you. Oh, tell you what, let's do here. I was going to say, I wanted to talk a little bit about the RPIs, because we do have an announcement, Dale. I'm sure you saw it, about when they're going to release the playoff brackets. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's going to be Sunday now, right?
Yeah, they're not waiting till Monday. They are going to release on Sunday. So maybe enough complaining was done by people about how big of an issue it was, and coaches complained that NCHSAA decided to work on Sunday.
Tell you what, Bill,
which is odd, because you know how much work coaches put in. Coaches put in so much time, and to think that they were going to take Sunday off and delay the coaches and their work just was ridiculous.
Yeah, just what's the word for it? Not lack of communication, false assumptions comes to play. Looking at that 1A, it's interesting. I was looking at my own personal rankings. Right now, I have Northside Pinetown as my number one team, and their RPIs are number two. And then I have Robbinsville as my number two team. If I had to pick a team that has the easiest way to get to the state championship, it's probably Robbinsville. And the brackets haven't been released at all. Robbinsville is the team to beat in the West. I just don't see any team coming within 2 or 3 scores of Robbinsville on the West. East is a different story. Kip Pride, Northside Pinetown, and Wilson Prep are the teams that I have my eyes on. Bear Grass Charter, I think they would probably struggle against like a Wilson Prep or a Northside Pinetown or Kip Pride. South Davison, Dale, I'm so proud of that South Davison Wildcat team. They have never won 9 games before in the season. They never won 8. They never won 7. I think the most they ever won in one season is 6. And here they are at 9-0. That's a great story about that program. However, I don't see South Davison competing for a state championship. Love for me to be proven wrong. It'd be great to see them walk away with. That would be probably a great movie to write. But right now, though, I think that Robbinsville and Wilson Preps would be my 2 favorites. How about you, Dale?
Robbinsville. Just straight up.
Gotcha.
I don't I don't know. I think that's a very, very good football team.
I agree with you. Good news is for 1A, if you play 1A football, you're in the playoffs unless you elect outs. There's not enough teams. Tell you what, let's focus on the 2A. Then we'll kind of talk about the East and the 2A. Dale, the last 8 years, I called it before it was the 1AA, then became 1A. I used to call it the Tarboro Invitational, and who would Tarboro play in the regional finals. Tarboro in the East. I think that's pretty much says it. I think the closest team in the East after Tarboro is probably Warren County. But the West is loaded. You know how we talked about the depth in between the East and the West. The East has some good teams, but the West has just so much more depth. I like Corvian. I mean, I think Corvian might be the team to beat.
I think it's going to be Tarboro and Corvian again. Community School of Davidson might be the biggest bump in the road for Corvian, but I just don't see there being a team personally.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. Some really good teams though. Starmount, Murphy, Allegheny. Allegheny's had one of the best seasons in forever. East Wilkes is a solid team. That's over in Junior Johnson lands over in Rhonda. So I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's go look at the 3A. You got more depth in 3A, both on the East and the West. And I think in the West, it's going to be a kind of a shootout between like Shelby and Lincolnton. And, oh gosh, I'll have to look at the list here just a second. Lincolnton is the number 12 team in the RPIs. And at one time, they were ranked number 1 in my polls. Shelby is not even on here. Did you notice that? They're not even on this list right now. You probably have to go down to about 16 or 20 or so.
It's because of RPI.
It has to do with RPI. They played a brutal schedule. You know what? Whenever you have Shelby in the mix, it's hard not to pick Shelby to be one of those teams. But Mountain Heritage, that's a very good team. Mount Airy, they're all solid. Eastern Randolph, I don't know if they'll go east or west. North Stanley, that's where I graduated. I'll withhold judgment on North Stanley. Dale, here's a team I want you to circle. The next two teams, Pender or James Keenan. They're out in the East. I'm a big James Keenan fan. I'm also a fan of Pender. You know who Tom Eanes is, don't you?
Yep.
He's been around for a while. I like Midway. I like Walkertown a lot. Walkertown looks like a reasonable team to me. And I'm guessing Walkertown will go west. If they do, they're going to be in there. East Rutherford, you see them at number 14. That's a really good team. Lincolnton. I mean, the 3A is loaded, Dale.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's going to be a battle in the West again.
Right.
It's another one of those where it's kind of brutal to get out of the Western half. And quite honestly, you don't see them right here, but
Shelby.
Scroll it down. Yeah, because where was Shelby sitting?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Shelby is one that you don't see on the list here, but that's because this is RPI and not a power ranking of any of any means. So that's a team to look out for. And again, Lincolnton, way down there at 12, that's a dangerous team right there.
Yeah, you got that right. There's a lot of dangerous teams here. Looking at it, Walkertown, Shelby, Lincolnton, East Rutherford. East Rutherford's a really good team. They beat High Brighton earlier on this season. Mm-hmm. Mountain Heritage. Just loaded here. I don't really have a strong favorite on this. I think 3A is going to be the most competitive of all the classifications, both on the East and the West.
Yeah, I'll look and see when the picks come out, but it all depends on who plays who,
right?
As to who you may project as the final. Who may make it, let's say, to the finals. But I do like Lincolnton. I'm going to say that I do like them.
And that guy handed Stuart Kramer didn't just beat them; they beat them by several scores. Mm-hmm. That threw in my mind. But in the East,
things happen. That was not an expected result by any means.
that Northeastern team, the number 10 team, they've not going to say they've been disappointing. They're 7-2. That's a great record. They've been kind of a little bit under the radar this season. I can see Antonio Moore getting the troops riled up and getting them into the state championship again.
Yeah, if it comes up here quickly enough, it does. No, it doesn't. It's not coming up quick enough. Apply. Maybe I got to click the apply button. So in a power ranking, Jim, Shelby is number 5 in 3A. So that just shows you a discrepancy of RPI versus power.
You see the 18 right there? Shelby at 18.
They're at 18 in RPI, but in a power ranking, they are number 5. And if I were to guess right now, before looking at this, I would have guessed that the power ranking would have been somewhere in that range. People got to, you got to understand who they lose to. You know, the teams that they play. Mountain Heritage is Mountain Heritage is the number 1 RPI, and Mountain Heritage is the number 1 power rank. And quite honestly, Jim, it's a big difference in power ranking between Mountain Heritage and Mount Airy. But it just goes to show you something. Some of us complain. A lot of us complain about RPI. I don't think some people understand the difference in a power ranking and what an RPI is.
Exactly right.
The only thing I give this RPI credit for is that they weight mostly to your opponent's winning percentage. So,
right. Let's look at let's go to the next classification. Let's look at 4A. 4A in the West, just kind of let you know, Dale, I like Brevard. And any classification that has Reedsville in it, I like Reedsville. And Reedsville, Reedsville last 4 years have gone through the West because of how the state's divided. 4A, there's not a hard line between East and West anymore, as we're well aware of. Reedsville, most likely in the 4A, will go to the East. I can see Brevard and Reedsville 1 and 2, and look at them. They're in the RPIs here. They're 1 and 2.
They're also 1 and 2 in power rankings. So I think legitimately those are the two. I'm just looking down the list. I think legitimately that's the 2 best teams. Maiden's a pretty good team.
They're good. They've lost a few games though, but they played a pretty tough schedule. I think they're in that 4A 5A conference.
Yeah, you got to look at who they've lost to.
Yeah,
and I just flipped over to look and see they're the number 3 power ranked team in North Carolina.
Yeah, I think I have Maiden around 6 or 7. I'm looking at it. I think I actually have East Duplin as the 3rd team. Central Davison I have in the top 7 or so. West Craven, I think I might have around 3rd or 4th. High Brighton, I know, is in my top 10. Pisgah's not. Randleman's not. Bunn is not. I think Newton Conover's in my right around 9th or 10th. Maiden's my top 10. Stuart Kramer, I mean, they're a team that beat Lincolnton, the 3A team. They're at 14. Mount Pleasant. I don't think the 4A is quite as deep as the 3A, though. I don't think it's going to be nearly as competitive. I think the 4A is a lot more top heavy than the 3A. So if I had to do one that's what I consider to be kind of a sleeper, would be Central Davison over in Lexington area. There's Lexington senior at 19th. Beginning of the season, I thought Lexington would be the team that would win.
I think Newton Conover could potentially upset some apple carts. Maybe Bandy's. I think those are going. The thing is there's going to be some tough games in the West. That's just another classification. Right. There's a lot of I mean, the teams are better, so in the end, Brevard's a better team, but they're going to have to go through some tough teams. They're not going to have easy outs.
No, it only takes one bad Friday night to go home. I'll tell you what, Dale, with the next classification, I'm going to do the easy one. I'll talk about the 5A East. I want you to pick the winner of the 5A West for me. And there's a reason why, because 5A West is going to be absolutely loaded.
Yeah, 5A West is, and I know that the couple of teams that I will, I think it's going to come down to the handful of teams that I think it'll come down to. I really think it's going to come down to 3 teams. I think Hickory's got a slight edge. I think East Lincoln is right there with Hickory. And I think South Point is going to be right there as well. Those 3 teams, I think out of those 3 teams, 2 of those are going to be playing in the regional.
Wow.
Championship. That's what I think. I'm leaving out JMR. I'm leaving out Crest. But quite honestly, you're going to have to go through those teams. And so those aren't going to be night off games for anybody. The West is tough, Jim. The West is like, oh my gosh. I mean, those 5 teams there could arguably be slated down as, you could probably make arguments for them to be in the top 5 teams in 5A. But
kind of let you know, in my personal rankings, I have Hickory at 1, got Crest at 2, J.M. Robinson at 3, East Lincoln at 4, and South Point at 5. And I can tell you right now, there's the difference between 1 and 5 is very thin. And in fact, number 5, South Point beat Hickory earlier on in the season. So it's all about matchups here.
It's all about matchups, and all those games are going to be critical. To have to fight through those teams, to fight through that kind of competition, you might hit 3 weeks in a row one of those teams. One team may play those other 3 teams, 3 weeks in a row.
And kind of let you know, the number 16 in my 5A rankings is a team called Oak Grove, which is between, I guess, Thomasville and Welcome. You don't even see Oak Grove in the top 14 here. I bet you they're probably around the 18th or 19th in RPIs. I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe we can scroll down to see where Oak Grove is, but
you can't just to mention that toughness while that's
look
scrolling.
At that, number 24. Look at that.
Yeah. Monroe's another team that's not going to be a night off for people, and Forest Hills as well. There's a lot of
there's a lot of good teams in the West.
Yeah.
The East, there's just don't have the depth of teams. The best team in the East is where I have ranked as number 7th in my top 10 in the 5As is Northside Jacksonville. And I think Northside Jacksonville, Wilson Hunt, and Croatan are the 3 teams to beat in the West. I think they're all fairly close. I give Northside Jacksonville just a little bit of an advantage. That's the reason why I wanted you to pick the winner in the West, because I would screw it up right there. And, Joe Glass is probably saying, go ahead, Dale. Pick me number 5. Tell me I'm going to lose in the 2nd round or 3rd round or something like that. He did not want you to pick them to win in the West. So let's look at the 6A, see what would come up on that. 6A is going to be pretty good. And there's a log jam at 6A. Dale, I want to do the same thing. I want you to pick the winner out of the East or the West in the 6A.
I'm taking Ashbrook. I think I just don't know about Watauga. That's going to be a number 1 seed, right? I think so. No, they're number 2 seed, so they'll be a number 1 because Jacksonville's east. So
Right.
they'll be a number 1 seed in the West. But I think Ashbrook. I think Ashbrook can go up, and I'll be honest with you. Another team that I kind of like here is Sun Valley, and I think Sun Valley can go up to Watauga and win as well. But to me, those are probably. I'm expecting the Scotland's going to be east, right?
I imagine Scotland will be east.
I'm thinking.
How about Freedom?
Well, I think Freedom. I don't know. I'm trying to think what I
want more information about Freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Or how they're maybe in the West they might be somewhere in the 5th, 4th to 6th best team in the West, maybe.
Right.
I'm guessing. You got Ashboro will be West, I expect. I think they're all better than Asheville. Statesville, I still have questions about. Dudley will be probably West, you reckon?
Dudley could go either way. I think they're going to go. I think Dudley's actually right there in the middle. I think they're probably the most eastern team in the West. If that makes any sense.
There's a Kings Mountain that I would like. I'd like to get behind, but I don't see them or Olympic making a deep run. Probably second to third round exits is what I'm thinking. So, and quite honestly, I like Ashbrook, and I think Ashbrook's my favorite, with maybe Sun Valley second out of the West.
In my rankings, I have Sun Valley as the 9th best team in the 6A. I think they're coming in at the right time, and they could give Ashbrook a struggle. I have Watauga actually at number 3 and Ashbrook at number 1. I think Ashbrook's your best team in the West. In the East, it's interesting. The team that I have favored in the East is not even on the screen right here. It's 71st. I bet you it might go down to 24 or so again. Let's see here, 71st. Where's 71st? There it is, number 17. They're 7-2. They've lost one game to Terry Sanford, and I forgot who else they lost to. But they're a really, really solid team. They've been to 2 state championship games in a row. Mm-hmm. 2023, they lost to Joe Glass's Hickory team. In 2024, they lost to Sam Griner's West Charlotte team. They're a really good team. It's hard not to dismiss them. Northern Nash, I think if you go up a little bit, they're probably in the top 6 or 7. I have them 4th in the state. I like them. And I also like Jacksonville. Jacksonville might be the team that's going to sneak in and win it all in the East. An interesting thing about it is Northern Nash, they went to the state championship game in 2022. Jacksonville, I think they played Catholic in the 2018 state championship game. All those teams have been there before.
Right now, I'd probably
be
pick either Jacksonville or Middle Creek. That's maybe two teams I would lean towards out of the East.
Middle Creek might be the team to win in 2026. We'll see on that, but that's a good area for football. That's actually about almost like Middle Creek High School is a mile and a half from my parents' house. They have a carry address, or the Middle Creek now has a carry address, but for the longest time they were known as Apex Middle Creek.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 teams that can challenge Jacksonville. I don't know. We'll see.
There you go. 7A now. That's going to be a fun one. I want you this time to pick your East and West favorites, and then I'll copy off from you.
Oh man. Well, in the West, I think I like Weddington, but I also like Mooresville and Independence. I think those are three tough teams. Mooresville has really shown a lot of toughness. I love the way they played against Huff. I don't think I think those three are the best teams out of the West. Someone can, correct me. Obviously, someone will that hears this, but I'm assuming Grimsley. Were we thinking Grimsley might go east?
Grimsley will probably go west.
Now, if Grimsley goes west, then Grimsley's the favorite. But I like Weddington. So personally, I like Weddington, just plain and simple. Weddington's my number one. I think Mooresville and Independence can be, I don't want to call them sleepers, but kind of between a sleeper and a favorite. Right. And of course, Grimsley is, the chances are to be Grimsley and Weddington in the regionals. But I think those four teams are your best teams. And in the East, man, Cleveland is my pick. Cardinal Gibbons, I think you got to always keep in mind.
Right.
I don't know, kind of somebody like a Garner or a Richmond. I think they got to have things go their way. Now, Clayton can tell us a lot this Friday night, can't they? If where they play in the mix. So I think you got to think about teams like them. Those are all going to be, I think, late run teams.
Right.
But I like, simple right now. I like Cleveland.
Okay. Well, I'll stick with the East on this. I like Cleveland also in the East. That Neuse River Conference, you got Cleveland, you got Gardner, you got Clayton, you got Southeast Raleigh. That's a very good conference. And not only that, you got an up-and-coming South Gardner team. You got a Fuquay Varina team that, if you like wing tee football, that's a place to go to, Dale. I love watching the Bengals matriculate the ball down the field. And then you have Smithfield Selma that's one time they were a really great program. They've been really struggling for several years now. I will take Cleveland, though. I think they're the favorite. Richmond might be your second best team. I don't know. I would say Cardinal Gibbons, but I think Richmond might actually have more talent than Cardinal Gibbons this year. It'll be a close one. Cardinal Gibbons has probably played better than Richmond, but come playoff time, I like Richmond in the playoffs, but I'll take Cleveland. In the West, I'm actually going to pick Weddington over Grimsley. I have Grimsley right now as number one, and they have a gamer. I mean, they've got a freshman quarterback that's replacing Faison, and I like Grimsley a lot. But I'll tell you what, that Weddington team, that defense wins championships. I like Weddington. I think they're a very solid team. It'd be hard.
They got a good offense too now.
They do.
They're good all the way around.
A lot of people are talking about Tom Knotts back when he was independent, saw all the great offensive games. People don't realize his defense were the reason why they could play so well in offense. If you have a defense that can hold a team 3 and out, your offense doesn't have to work as hard. And Weddington, golly, that's just a complete team.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that's 7A though. I mean, just look at these teams here. It's 7A is a lot deeper than 8A, if you ask me.
No, there's no question. It's the deepest with quality teams, far deeper.
Right.
Now 8A's got some good teams, but 7A is just going to be a brutal schedule for teams to get to the finals. So it'll be interesting to see.
Right. All right. Well, let's leave the last one for the best for last. Or actually, I don't know. I think this right here, 7A might be the best. We'll do 8A next. 8A is going to be interesting, both on the East and the West. I think the West has got a lot more attraction this year, but I think there's about 3 sleepers in the West or in the East that I'd like to discuss. Dale, let's start out in the East this time instead of the West. Who do you like in the East at this point?
Millbrook, plain and simple. Millbrook. I think they're personally. I think they're head and shoulders above. I think they rank with the Western teams.
I think so too. I think Millbrook can win it all. And the teams I think that will give Millbrook the hardest time is Jordan and Hoggard. And besides that, Rollsville is the team that everybody at the beginning of the season was saying that would roll. And to be honest with you, they still might be able to. I just don't know. They lost earlier on the season to Millbrook 28-7. The other team's not listed here is Leesville Road. They lost to Millbrook 28-0. So I do like Millbrook. Okay, the West. Who do you like in the West?
Who do I like in the West? Wow. I think it's going to come down to Huff and West Charlotte. And I like both for various reasons. However, one of those or both of them are going to have to find their way through Myers Park. Now, Myers Park had an injury occur to their quarterback Friday night, and Myers Park proved in that game against Huff up until that injury that they were playing pretty much toe-to-toe with Huff. But offensively, they weren't putting touchdowns on the board, which you need to do. You can't come out of possessions with 3-point plays, or 3 points. But I really do believe those are the two potentially best teams. You've got West Forsyth and Mallard Creek, and I don't want to say. I would have said a couple of 2 weeks ago. I would have said Palisades could be a roadblock for people that were a big speed bump. I should say, not a roadblock, but a big speed bump. But Palisades has not figured out how to finish games. They got the talent to play with those teams, but they hadn't figured out how to finish games, and that's hurting them. Mallard Creek is having a hard time. I don't know which team shows up.
Right.
So in the end, I think it really does come down to Huff and West Charlotte.
That's kind of how I'm coming out too.
Yeah, I don't. How can you come out any different?
The one thing that kind of worries me right now, looking at the rankings here in the West, Huff would be, if it finished like it is right now, Huff would be the 1 seed in the West, and from what I understand, Jordan will probably go to the West also. Because there's only I think in the 8A there's 13 teams that are in the West and 19 teams in the East. Jordan will probably end up going over to the West. So that might be the number 2 seed. And I also heard Pinecrest might go to the West. If Pinecrest was a 2 seed, Jordan was a 3 seed, West Charlotte would be a 4 seed. So that might, if it happens where Huff and West Charlotte are 1 and 4 seeds, they wouldn't meet in the regional playoffs. They'd meet in the
semis. Yeah.
In the semis. And you know what? If I was like a team like Pinecrest or Jordan, I'd be praying that happens.
You know, the thing for Jordan, though, is if they come west, they ain't going to be around come regionals. They're not going to be around in the semis, I don't think.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think
Mauer Creek or Myers Park.
I think of Myers Park. Well, now I do have a concern about Myers Park, and does their quarterback come back and play? I don't know what that status is. Though the kid that came in didn't look bad, but he was put into a tough situation. You know, he looked like he could be a good quarterback, but he was just thrown into, you know, the lion's den, so to speak. And instead of being thrown in with a sword, he was thrown in with two ribeye steaks in his hands. You know, it was not a good situation. So I do think of Myers Park. You know, you got to look, Jim. They're going to have to go through like a Myers Park or a West Forsyth. They're going to have to go through. Again, don't Palisades, Providence. I mean, there's some teams there. These teams are good football teams.
Look at Chambers at number 23, though. They're right close to the bubble. I mean, the top 24 teams come in. Would you be shocked if Chambers didn't make the playoffs?
Would I be shocked if they don't make the playoffs?
I think they're in, though, but
I don't know. Yeah, a little bit. It just would show the stupidity of RPI to me. I'm not saying Chambers is a great football team, but they're certainly better than some teams that would keep them out.
I was looking at it like Chambers and Green Hope. I've seen Green Hope play. I've seen film of Chambers. Chambers would beat Green Hope. They'd beat Broughton. They'd beat Inlow. I've seen Willow Spring play. They'd more likely to beat Willow Spring. I think
would
they'd
say Chambers.
Laney.
Yeah, see, I would think Chambers would probably in 4A be near a top 20 team. Somewhere near 20, somewhere. Let's say plus or minus 2 positions or so, something like that.
Right.
Some might say they're a little better. They might be, but I think they're definitely a playoff team.
Yeah,
That's just RPI. Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. That's the thing, Dale. I know you usually give final thoughts. I'll let you give your final thoughts in just a second. I'm going to give you my final thoughts. With the playoffs, every year or every 4 years, seems like there's always a new playoff formula. It used to be where back in the 80s, you knew before the season started if you were going to be a number 1, number 2, or number 3 in your conference where you'd be in the playoffs. Then it became more about see how many teams you could get in the playoffs when we started doing subdividing. And now you got one time there was that Max Preps, that it was kind of like a modified power rankings. You remember that? It was just for a year or two.
Well, they didn't use the power rankings. What they did is they used as part of
the RPI. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. They used the power ranking, but they only used it for what was it? They didn't use it like we're using RPI this season.
Right. It was a weird thing they did. I remember it was.
It was a modifier to I had to go
Like,
back and look at the handbook.
and like you couldn't get more credit than like 28 points for beating your opponent or something like that. I remember we had
Yeah,
something on that.
it was some weird stuff. It
It was
wasn't
weird stuff. And now we're doing RPIs, but every time there's always a new type of playoff system, and there's always winners and losers. I don't think there's going to be a lot of losers because just virtually everybody gets into the playoffs. I will say that I wish that we'd have no more than 5 weeks in the playoffs, have 32 teams each classification. If you don't have enough for 32, just do 24 or whatever, like maybe in the 1As and the 8As. I don't think every team in the 8A should make the playoffs. 24 is fine. But
well,
when you have
no, I was just going to say I'm not a fan of RPI, but
Yeah.
other states use RPI, including
Yeah.
big football states have used RPI in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a fan of RPI at all, so don't let that make anybody think, oh, Dale's advocating for RPI. But RPI is used by or has been used by other football states, including the big ones like Texas. So
one thing I will share with everybody, though, I will give the association credit. They are transparent about what they're going to do when it comes to the playoff structures. I have no problems with that. I just want to give a shout out. I know a lot of people like to beat up the association, but the people that actually work there on a daily basis, like our Q Tuckers of the world, they're really good people. So, Bill, I want to turn it over to you. Any last final thoughts for tonight?
No final thoughts yet. Hopefully, we were going to get the picks up.
Okay.
Did post a message about that.
Oh, yeah, let's do the picks. I'm sorry.
Please throw. Well, that's this week's picks, so we'll do that, and then we'll look at last week's. But here's last week's first. Just because I hear about it when I go to games, if I happen to have picked against a team, I end up hearing about it. So this was last week, and Jim, Chris, myself, Langston, and Nate are all tied now. And Gary is just on our heels, and No Limit needs to pick his game up. He needs to unlimit his game and catch up with us. But as everybody can see here, every one of us blew it on the Latin at Country Day game.
Right.
We all picked Latin, and Country Day showed us that, Country Day is a really good football team. And I picked Crest. You know, I was telling them that I had picked Ashbrook, and I was just about to send my picks in. And then I'm like, no, Chris is going to find a way to win this game. And I changed it to Chris and sent it. So anyway, now if we can look at this upcoming week, and people, we don't have our picks out yet, but we'll just show you what the games are we're picking. And we got a West Mac at Garinger. Ardrey at Providence. That's a huge game. That is the high-profile game. Hale Brown at West Cabarrus. Olympic at Hickory Ridge. So those are two games, Jim, that are probably going to be potentially close games. All three of those games. Forest Hills at Monroe, great rival game. And Mooresville at Lake Norman, great rival game.
I'll give you my picks on here, but go ahead. Phil.
No, I'm not.
You haven't decided yet. West Mac at Garinger, West Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Ardrey at Providence. That game could go either way. I'm going to pick Providence.
Mm-hmm.
A.L. Brown, West Cabarrus. Another one of those games go either way. A.L. Brown just seems to be the luckiest, one of the luckier teams this year. I'm going to take A.L. Brown just because they're lucky. Okay. Olympic versus Hickory Ridge. Hickory Ridge is one of the luckier teams this year, but I'm going to go with Olympic in this game.
Okay.
Forest Hills, Monroe, I'm going to pick Monroe, and I'll take Mooresville over Lake Norman.
So if I had to send my picks right now, and I've got till tomorrow, those would be the picks that I'd send.
Okay.
But I've got to think more on that Ardrey Providence game.
That's the one I wasn't very sure about. I think whatever I picked, the other team would win.
So I got to think more on that game right there. But I those are probably going to end up being my picks. But we'll see, folks. So as far as final thoughts, I don't want my final thought to be the same final thought. Even though it's in my head all the time. This is more, this week we got games on Thursday night so that kids can go out and do their Halloween stuff, whereas other schools are not playing or on Thursday night. They're doing it on Halloween. I don't recall games being moved off of Halloween before. Maybe they have been. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this or not. The fact that all I do now is give out trick-or-treat candy. I don't think it really matters to me. I don't have kids anymore that it matters. And if my sons were still playing football, we would have wanted to play football instead of go trick-or-treat. So, I don't know how other people feel about it. We move games for different reasons. But this week we got in various parts of the state our games moved to Thursday night, so don't forget that. We got rain here in Charlotte right now. We got rain, I think, coming tomorrow. I don't know what Thursday holds, but other than I think it's going to be cold. So anyway, those of you that do trick-or-treating Friday night, be safe, enjoy it, keep your kids safe. Keep them close, and I hope everybody has good Thursday and Friday night games. That's it.
Oh, Dale, I'll echo about the Halloween. November 1st is the day that my daughter and I used to go to Walmart, and the reason why was their candies were always about 50 to 60% marked off the price from the day before.
That's the good thing. That's the good thing after Halloween and Easter is you get those Reese's things, Reese's eggs. Those are my favorite.
Oh gosh!
Now,
yeah.
Thursday night we will be on Thursday night, so
that's right.
Those of you that have games Thursday night, we are going to do a Thursday night show this weekend, our Friday night show. So you get an extra as.
It's going to be mostly a Dell show on Thursday night because I'm going to probably hit the hay early. I have to work the next day, but
we won't be up late for sure.
No.
It won't be a long show. Okay, I think that's it.
Well, Dale, always a pleasure. I appreciate it, guys. Jim West, Dale Ross, and countless others that have helped us on the background with Talking Preps OT. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.